The Substance is by far the mildest film in this video. The movie suggests that self-esteem is not truly personal, but rather the result of comparing ourselves to what society deems valuable. On the Hollywood Walk of Fame, workers unveil the name of a new star, Elizabeth Sparkle. At first, paparazzi swarm and people line up to take photos, but as time passes, public interest fades. In the present day, Elizabeth hosts a fitness program. On her 50th birthday, she accidentally overhears the network executive asking for someone younger and sexier to replace her because she's no longer useful. Soon after, he fires her himself, implying that her youth is gone, and with it, her worth. After being fired and surviving a car accident, Elizabeth receives a USB labeled The Substance. The product promises that, through an injection, it will create a younger, more beautiful, more perfect version of you. Under strict rules, precise 7-day rotations, and a stabilizing fluid that must be extracted from the matrix, Elizabeth eventually injects the activator. Her back splits open, and from it emerges a young, flawless woman named Sue. They now share one existence. While one sleeps, the other is awake, switching every 7 days. Sue is hired for the show, and her image completely replaces Elizabeth's. But Sue breaks the rules. To prolong her youth, she extracts more stabilizing fluid from Elizabeth's body. The result is grotesque. One of Elizabeth's fingers ages drastically. The company warns her that what is taken from one side is removed from the other, and that the damage is irreversible. As Sue steals more time, Elizabeth's body deteriorates. Gray hair, sagging skin, yellowed nails, and growing lumps. After 3 months without switching back, Elizabeth awakens as a decrepit, skeletal, hunched old woman. In an attempt to end everything, Elizabeth nearly kills Sue, but stops when she remembers that her younger self is the only part worthy of love. When she tries to revive her using the switch device, something goes wrong. For the first time, they both wake up at the same time. Sue brutally beats Elizabeth to death. As she prepares for the show, Sue begins to fall apart. Desperate, she injects the activator again, begging, "Give me a better version of myself." But instead of another perfect woman, a grotesque creature emerges, with Elizabeth's face attached to its back. The monster puts on the blue dress, wears a mask with Elizabeth's face, and steps onto the stage before millions of viewers. When the mask falls, the crowd screams, "It's a monster!" and demands it be killed. The monster begs them. She is still the same person. They all attack her until a man crushes her head, spraying the audience with blood. In the final moment, Elizabeth reaches a late acceptance. Her worth was never confined to her youth alone. The tragedy is that this realization comes far too late. Descent into Darkness. We are faced with a French horror film presented as a mockumentary. It follows a reporter who is funded by his local television network to travel across Europe in a heart-shaped route, starting in Paris and ending in Rome, to question whether something like the European dream truly exists, much like the American dream. The first thing that stands out is Sorgoy himself, a journalist fully equipped with recording gear. He is charismatic, friendly, and naive, simply eager to experience the customs of the so-called First World. Although the journey was supposed to cover multiple cities, a series of disastrous misfortunes keeps him from ever leaving Paris. He goes out partying, is offered countless illegal substances, and begins a downward spiral into madness. He is beaten and robbed, loses one of his cameras, has his credit card stolen, and eventually the production company stops responding to him. He finds himself stranded in a foreign country with no money, no friends, and no contact with the people who were supposed to support him. The turning point comes in a nightclub bathroom, when he is offered 3 different pills and swallows them all at once. The dealer tells him he should not have done that. This is Sorgoy's breaking point, the psychotic episode that turns the rest of the film into pure chaos. Unable to pay for his hotel, he starts with small thefts and muggings, recording everything and realizing he enjoys it. He befriends a homeless man, lives under a bridge, drinks heavily, commits petty crimes, and we witness the degradation and humiliation of life on the streets, When the homeless man dies of an overdose, Sorgoy is left alone and begins flirting with violence. Stealing is no longer enough. He wants to punch someone, knock them to the ground, harass women, stab a stranger under a bridge for fun while filming it, rob him, and discover that it is the most thrilling thing he has ever done. At one point, he even films a little girl in a park in a way that hints at something deeply disturbing. Absolute decay arrives when he breaks into the home of a European family. There, he tortures each of them. The father is stabbed and ends up crushed under a piece of furniture. The child tries to escape, but Sorgoy captures him, locks him in a shed, douses it with gasoline, and burns him alive. Later, sitting at the table with the mother tied up, he eats meat that we understand to be human while forcing her to watch footage of her son's death, with the father's corpse still in the room. We can still hear a baby crying as Sorgoy smiles and stands up. Time has taken its toll on him. He has lost significant weight, shaves his beard into strange shapes, cuts his hair into a heart, lives like a hermit, and continues filming and editing in the midst of his psychosis, convinced he is still making his documentary about the European dream. In the end, he shaves all the hair from his body and walks naked into the sea. That is where the film ends, having finally found, in his own twisted way, the European dream. Come and see. It all begins in Belarus in 1943, during the German occupation of the Soviet Union. We see two young boys desperately digging through a battlefield in search of a weapon. An old man warns them that if the Germans find out, they will return to the village and kill everyone. The boys laugh it off. One of them, our protagonist Fliora, finds a rifle while a German plane watches from above. Later, when Fliora returns home, his mother discovers his intention to join the resistance. She reacts with overwhelming despair and begs him to kill her and his sisters instead, because going to war is the same as killing her while she's still alive. Even so, at dawn, two Soviet partisans arrive to take him to their camp. Despite his family's grief, Fliora leaves with a smile, proud and excited to serve his country. At the camp, hidden deep in the forest, the boy takes a photo with the guerrilla fighters, smiling. That same night, he receives his first assignment, standing guard. Soon after, a radio transmission warns of approaching German troops. The commander decides that Fliora will not go into battle. Upset, he runs into the forest, where he meets Glasha, a young nurse rescued by the resistance. Together, they spot the same plane from the beginning, now bombing the camp and destroying everything and everyone, except the two of them. After hiding and promising to protect her by taking her to his family, Fliora decides to return to his village. When they arrive, an unnatural silence fills the air. Glasha sees something that makes her vomit. Fliora, however, sees only dolls covered in flies. His mind shields him from reality. They are not dolls, but the corpses of his murdered family. In a swamp, Glasha begs him to accept that they are dead. He cannot bear it and shoves her into the mud, but a guerrilla rescues them and confirms that the Nazis killed everyone. The old man from the beginning tells Fliora he warned him not to dig up that weapon. He recounts how the Germans doused him in gasoline and set him on fire while laughing at his pleas. Overcome with guilt and losing his grip on sanity, Fliora tries to kill himself by plunging his head into the mud, but they stop him. Later, Fliora joins 3 guerrillas to infiltrate Nazi territory and find food. They are attacked and take shelter in a pit. When they resume their search, 2 of them step on landmines and are blown apart. Now only Fliora and the same guerrilla remain, and the boy is forced to look at the torn pieces of their bodies. By nightfall, they reach a village occupied by the Germans. They force a villager to hand over his cow, relieved at the thought of feeding their people. But German soldiers shoot and kill both the gorilla and the cow. The next morning, Fliora tries to take a horse. The owner claims he is his grandson when soldiers arrive. In the village, the Nazis gather everyone into a barn, lying that they will be sent to Germany. Fliora, the only one who understands their true intentions, shouts that they are being led to slaughter. Inside, a soldier offers to let anyone leave, but without the children. A woman tries to escape with her son. They throw the child back into the barn. Then the massacre begins. Grenades are tossed inside, and the building is set on fire. The woman is dragged away, gravely injured and assaulted. Afterward, the soldiers take a photo pointing a gun at Fliora's head, a grotesque mirror of that first smiling image. In just 3 days, we have gone from that to this. Later, the commander intercepts the Germans and wipes them out, sparing only the leaders. Among them is the soldier who ordered the children left inside. He shows no remorse, claiming that today's children will become tomorrow's enemies, that such a village should not exist. The commander orders gasoline to be handed over so they can burn each other alive, but before the torch is lit, a woman shoots them dead. Fliora then stares directly at us with the infamous 1,000-yard gaze. He approaches a puddle and repeatedly fires at a portrait of Hitler. As he shoots, real archival images of the war rewind in reverse, back through time until Hitler appears as a baby in his mother's arms. At that moment, Fliora stops firing. The film ends with Fliora walking into the forest alongside his comrades, ready to continue the war. We are left understanding that this was only the beginning, and that much more suffering still awaits, closing the story on that note. The Long Walk. Imagine a dystopian future where the ultimate national entertainment is watching 50 boys, one from each state, walk without stopping. It is a test of pure endurance, where the only rule is not to drop below 3.1 miles per hour. And it isn't even a race, since the winner isn't the one who arrives first, but simply the last one standing. If you stop or slow your pace, you receive a warning. At the 4th warning, they simply execute you right there on the road. What's most interesting is the relationship forged between the characters, especially between Ray, our protagonist, and McVries, the African-American boy. It's fascinating and at the same time painful to see how they become friends in a matter of hours, knowing that only one can stay on his feet. Personally, the movie made me feel a heavy mental anguish. The psychological toll of seeing your companions fall one after another is devastating. You feel that monotony of the road becoming eternal, and how hope dissolves with every mile. If we talk about moments that leave you in shock, we have to mention Harkness. There's a scene that turned my stomach, when he breaks his ankle in the middle of a climb and the camera lingers on that totally twisted and gangrenous leg while he tries to keep going. It's brutal. Another death that leaves you chilled is the boy who starts bleeding from his nose. It is a raw representation of cerebral edema, where his brain basically liquefies from the effort and lack of sleep until he dies in the cruelest way imaginable. And we cannot forget Barkovich, a character who starts out almost as a sadistic psychopath and ends up totally destroyed by guilt after indirectly causing the death of another competitor. Additionally, there are curious changes compared to the book. In the novel, there are 100 boys and the minimum speed is 4 miles per hour, while here there are 50 and they walk a bit slower, although they cover an absurd distance of more than 330 miles. The ending is, without a doubt, the most controversial part and what left me thinking the most. Unlike the book, where Ray's fate is much more ambiguous and ghostly, the movie here makes a different decision regarding McVries that feels somewhat anticlimactic, but loaded with meaning about revenge and sacrifice. It leaves you with that existential void of wondering if anyone truly wins in a competition where you have had to watch your best friends die to survive. In addition, it invites you to reflect on where our society is headed, and if we aren't already, in some way, on our own march toward the absurd. The house that Jack built. This man named Jack is driving down a road when he comes across a stranded woman. She starts talking about serial killers, even telling Jack he looks like one and giving him ideas on how to kill her. He ignores her until he suddenly slams on the brakes, grabs the car jack, and smashes her head in, disfiguring her face with repeated blows. During all of this, he keeps talking about art. He owns a large freezer, and that's where he takes all the bodies. Afterward, he hides the woman's car in a forest near a border so the police won't even bother looking there. This is the first incident. During the second incident, Jack watches a woman who lives alone. Her husband died 6 months ago. He shows up pretending to be a police officer, then an insurance agent offering to increase her pension. She makes the grave mistake of letting him inside. Jack attacks her from behind, strangles her, and repeatedly stabs her. He always takes photos of the corpses before bringing them to the freezer. He has a severe obsession with cleanliness. He imagines bloodstains and goes back multiple times to clean, taking so long that police sirens approach. He hides the body in the woods and deceives a police officer by saying the woman, named Claire, has disappeared and would never let a stranger inside. While the officer searches the house, Jack brags about how well he did his job. He ties the corpse to his van and drags it, leaving a trail of blood that miraculously gets washed away by rain. When he reaches the freezer, the woman's face has been destroyed from being dragged. By the way, Jack is narrating all of this to someone. Later, he strangles another woman he was involved with, takes her to the freezer, and because he doesn't like the photos, he returns the frozen body to the crime scene. On the way, he runs over another woman walking alone, adding 2 more bodies to photograph. In the third incident, things start to get darker. Jack goes on a hunting trip with his partner and her 2 sons. He shifts from teaching them how to shoot to literally hunting them. He shoots one of the boys in the leg and then in the chest. The other gets a headshot. Jack then calmly sets up a picnic with the boy's mother beside the bodies. Afterward, he gives her a countdown to run because he is going to hunt her too, and eventually kills her. He displays his partner and her 2 sons like hunting trophies. As if that weren't enough, the psychopath carves a smile onto one of the boys' faces. They all end up in the freezer. Fourth incident. Jack falls in love with a girl. He tells her he has killed 60 people, then corrects himself to 61, confessing that she is the next victim. She doesn't believe him, and when she tries to ask for help, a police officer assumes they are just drunk. Back at the apartment, Jack disconnects the phone, ties her to a chair, and begins cutting off her breasts. We only hear her screams of agony. Here, Jack explains that he finds it easier to work with women because he believes they are less brave and weaker, so they cooperate more. The final incident reveals that Jack has several kidnapped people in the freezer, all tied up and still alive. His plan is to execute them all at once, using as little ammunition as possible. He tries to buy bullets, but can't get any, so he attempts to ask a friend for help, but he kills him because he was planning to turn him into the police. Jack returns to the freezer while more patrol cars arrive outside. He is preparing his sniper rifle when an old man appears, the same person he has been telling all his incidents to. Throughout this time, Jack has wanted to build a house but could never find the right materials. The old man suggests building a house out of the frozen corpses. Jack does it. When the police open the freezer, Jack escapes through a hole. We see what appears to be Jack and the old man drowned in a lake, but then Jack is walking through a tunnel. The old man tells him the tunnel leads to hell. There, Jack begins to see every single thing he has done. Finally, we see Jack falling straight into hell. Thanatomorphose is an extremely low-budget film with barely 5 characters, though only the protagonist truly matters. It has very little dialogue, follows an experimental structure, and is difficult to watch. The main character is a depressed young woman who lives alone in her apartment. She is a nurse and maintains a toxic relationship with her boyfriend, who treats her coldly and only seeks her out for sex. After one of these encounters, he leaves and she is alone again. From that moment on, she begins to notice changes in her body: stains, fingernails falling off, skin darkening. There is no explanation. She simply begins to rot while still alive. Her routine is empty and suffocating. She works on a clay sculpture while her physical condition worsens. After hitting her head, her deterioration accelerates. She tries to treat herself, but nothing works. One of her friends shows up, notices the bruises on her body, and ends up sleeping with her before leaving, once again abandoning her alone. In the second act, the decay becomes total. Maggots crawl out of her wounds, her nails detach, and parts of her body begin to fall off. She darkens the apartment, turning it into a closed, almost funerary space. The girl starts storing locks of hair, pieces of fingers, and chunks of flesh in jars, photographing her deterioration and using those fragments to complete her sculpture, as if trying to transfer her existence into that figure. Her boyfriend returns and, upon seeing her transformed into something unrecognizable, rejects her. In response, she brutally kills him with a hammer. Later, she calls her friend. When he arrives and refuses to sleep with her, she stabs him as well. In the final stretch, her body no longer responds. Her skin turns black. Maggots cover the flesh, and the decomposition reaches its peak. She drags herself across the floor as her body literally falls apart until only a skeleton remains. She lets out one final scream until her jaw detaches. The film ends with a silent, static shot. It is an extremely explicit and exhausting experience, one that unsettles the viewer and leaves behind a deep sense of emptiness. Let's Make the Teacher Have a Miscarriage Club is a disturbing 2011 Japanese film that immediately grips you through its cruelty and apathy. The story follows 5 young girls, led by the cold and calculating Mizuki, who, disgusted by the idea of motherhood, form a secret club with a single objective: to make their strict teacher lose her baby. It is a work that generates a constant, sickening tension. The movie doesn't need to be gore to leave you in shock. It starts strong, showing the girls sliding a lifeless rabbit down a playground slide. From there, their plans escalate in dark ways. They drop aluminum into the teacher's soup in plain sight, loosen her chair so she might break her neck, and even attempt to poison her with toxic gas. The climax is brutal. Mizuki corners the teacher in an abandoned factory and repeatedly strikes her in the abdomen. However, the true mental blow comes in the resolution. Instead of seeking revenge, the teacher protects Mizuki from an attack by a furious mother and then takes her to bury the remains of the fetus, forcing her to confront the death she has just caused face to face. The worst part of it all is that this nightmare was inspired by a real case that occurred in a Japanese school in 2009. The Devil's Rejects. Unlike House of 1,000 Corpses, which we already discussed in another video, this sequel feels narratively stronger. It shifts the tone towards something grittier, more violent, and closer to a road movie blended with a 70s-style thriller. It all begins with a narration describing the discovery of a diary detailing around 100 crimes. This leads the police to the farm from the first film, now commanded by the brother of the officer who died during those events. The family is asleep and comfortable when they are suddenly surrounded and threatened. Since they have all the bodies hidden inside the house, they have no choice but to engage in a full shootout with the police. During the gunfight, one of the sons is killed and the mother is arrested. This gives Otis and Baby time to escape through a tunnel located where they had hidden the kidnapped girls. While the mother is imprisoned, Otis and Baby steal a car and flee. Back at the house, the police find a notebook with a photo of Captain Spaulding next to what appears to be a corpse. Meanwhile, Baby and Otis check into a motel and begin torturing the family staying there. Throughout the film, we see just how unhinged they are. For example, when one of the girls asks Baby to use the bathroom, Baby tells her she must give something in return and forces her to slap the other girl. The girl tries to escape by asking for help throughout the motel, but no one assists her. Eventually, she runs into Spaulding, who knocks her out with a headbutt. Later that night, Otis appears wearing a mask made from one of the victims' faces. The next day, only bodies are found in the bathroom, along with the lone survivor wearing the mask. She later runs into the road and is hit by a truck. Meanwhile, the police interrogate the mother and show her books filled with records of their victims. Here we see the family's madness clearly, as she behaves as if she were at a friendly gathering. The police track their location and call in 2 men for assistance, one of them played by Danny Trejo. The sheriff dreams of his deceased brother and decides to confront the mother directly to take his revenge. Otis, Baby, and Captain Spaulding arrive at another motel where we learn the owner is Spaulding's brother and that Baby is his daughter. However, the sheriff discovers their hideout and forces the brother to ensure all 3 are present at midnight, or he will kill everyone. At midnight, they are there to receive what the sheriff believes they deserve. He captures them and takes them, wounded, back to the farm where everything began. There, he tortures the 3 of them for revenge. When he grows tired of the torture, he sets them on fire and lets Baby run only to chase her with an axe. Baby runs until she encounters Uncle Charlie, who seems willing to help her, but he also ends up dead. Just as the sheriff is about to kill Baby, Tiny appears. He had been outside the house when the police first arrived at the beginning, which is why they never saw him. Tiny kills the sheriff, saving Baby, and then rescues Otis and Spaulding. Near death, the 3 flee in Charlie's car, while Tiny chooses to stay behind and die with the burning house. In the final scene, the trio is ambushed on the road. Still, they go down exactly as they are, like true warriors.